This is one of the great scenes from last night. The final out of regular season play in 1991 looked kind of like that.
Oh my gosh. I think I lost a little bit of vertical from 91.
I don't know. It was pretty good. Yeah. That was pretty good, Greg Olsen.
Hey, when we were out there and John and I were talking, and John said, okay, you jump, and my arms just like four, and then Jeffrey from the Braves was saying, this is how we're going to do it. I said, Schmaltzy, I'm going to run. I don't know if I'm going to get as high, and I might come with a little more force your way. Just don't drop me. I didn't want to be on the 10 worst plays of the week.
I texted him today and said, I'm just glad you didn't get squished.
Well, then, so the untold story is we're rushing out there. We're trying to get this thing done because John's got a 10:20 flight.
Right.
The game's going a little bit. He's flying to Nashville to go be with his wife and some other friends. So we're rushing this thing on. So as soon as it's over, we jump in the car and I actually drive him to the airport. And we're going, and one of his buddies says on a text, he goes, I hope you know a good chiropractor.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great moment last night. And what a way to start the weekend. We've talked about this a lot, Ole. 1991 was such a special year for all of us, special year for Braves country. It had to be a very special year for you, too. Really coming out of nowhere to be such an integral part of the team. And the term I used last night was I thought you were the glue of that 91 club.
Well, we had a lot of glue with a lot of different people, but I was just I couldn't be any more proud than be able to catch those pitchers. You know, and you think about it, 91 when let's just look at Glavine and Schmaltz. Did it ever occur to me that these two guys could be Hall of Famers? Absolutely not. You're young in their careers. They end up pitching 20 years. Mm-hmm. But back then, did I ever thought these two guys could go in the Hall of Fame? No. But, those were the two guys that would go, as Lee would say, go to the post every fifth day. We had Avery, Charlie Lee, Brent. We had a great group of pitchers that performed at a very high level.
Pete Smith, too. Throw him in there. All those young gun guys.
Yeah, and then, you look at Alejandro Pena, who we picked up late, and he just secured the closing role, which was another one of those pieces.
First half of the season, the Braves at one point only were a game under 500. The Braves finished that year 55-28 in their last 83 games to chase down the Dodgers and win the West. What was the feeling going into the break, and what was the feeling of the club as you remember it coming right out of the All-Star break?
Well, really what
Galvis, a nice play and a stretch by Howard.
But really, if you look back at it, the Dodgers had, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 All-Stars on that team, and they were ahead of us by 9.5 games at the All-Star break. And then all of a sudden, I think we won 8 of the first 9 games after the All-Star game, and I think the Dodgers lost 7 and 9, whatever it was. All of a sudden, we found ourselves, 2.5, 3.5 games back, and we were so young and naive, we really didn't know. But you have to give a lot of credit to two of the key acquisitions that John Scherholz brought in. That would be Sid Bream and Terry Pendleton. They both had experience with the playoffs, but both of them brought in great leadership, and they were the ones that really said, hey, you guys don't know how good you are. And all of a sudden, we're 3 games back, and the guys came in, their eyes were this big. We'd come to the clubhouse, we wanted to be there, and it was just from that first 10 days after the All-Star game all the way to the end of the season, it was so intense, but pleasurable intensity, which usually, you don't recognize intense, but it was just such a pleasure to come to the ballpark every night.
I was just looking at those stats we put up there. 16 postseason games for you, and that got cut short because of that injury on the collision at home plate with Houston. But did you ever in your mind in 1990, for example, envision playing 16 postseason games?
I was worried about playing more than 2 major league games. So coming into 90, I catch a huge break and things go well.
Ibar with a base hit to left. That keeps the inning alive for the Braves. It'll bring up catcher Anthony Recker.
So 90, I catch a big break, and things went really well for me. I made the All-Star team that year. But 91, it was just one of those years that everything came together, and there really was no other catcher going down the stretch. I think I ended up catching 33 games in a row, and there were 2 doubleheaders in there, and you would have had to pull me out of there with a crowbar not to catch. It was just one of those sensational times. In '92, unfortunately, I had the home plate collision with Ken Caminiti, but I came back fairly strong, and for playing 7.5 years in the minor leagues and then playing 91, 92, 93 division titles and playing in those playoff games, I couldn't ask for any more.
Recker with 2 outs takes a strike.
I remember a great scene in '92 after Sid slid. I think you were on Ned Yost's back going out onto the field to celebrate. Is that correct?
Well, I had the big hip cast, and my mother-in-law painted the tomahawk chop on the cast, and I was in the dugout, and actually Deion Sanders was in the dugout, and when Sid slid home, and I got my crutches in the dugout, and of course the doctors don't go anywhere without your crutches, don't put any weight on it, and the whole 9 yards. As soon as that happened, I hopped on 1 foot all the way out to second base. And I got out there, and the adrenaline finally rushed out of my body, and I had to literally lay down out there because I couldn't move anymore. And then that's when Ned, helped me in. But I just the adrenaline pump was just so unbelievable.
And then, as a Minnesota boy, who do you face in the World Series but the Minnesota Twins? I mean, you talk about a dream scenario. That had to be it.
Yeah. So, growing up, I was a big baseball fan. I'd go to the old Met Stadium, and I spent my whole life rooting for the Twins. So now I tell people I root for the Twins. I've rooted for the Twins my whole life except for 7 games. It didn't quite work out right. We came up 1 run short, but certainly it was a lot of fun.
The flip to second's going to take care of Anthony Recker. Greg Olsen, you want to stick around for another half inning with us?
Absolutely.
Please. Always love having Ole in the booth. We'll continue our 1991 trip down memory lane with him after this.